Hey fans, fighters, subscribers and YouTubers, and welcome to the most spectacular fighting show on YouTube, fighters that will always be remembered. This show includes documentary stories of famous boxers, UFC fighters and K1 fighters that left an undeletable trail in their sport and should always remain known and famous for their achievements. Please follow episodes, send your propositions to my Facebook, and make sure that your fighter gets the next story.
Hello and welcome. Tonight we're talking about Joe Son. You know that Joe Son is he's the biggest criminal in the world of UFC, convicted of life sentence in prison, but he was also, for me at least, the funniest guy that was ever competing in the world of UFC. Because if you remember his fights, you know that he has a score of 4-0, 4 losses, and in kickboxing 1 loss, 0 wins. He's the guy who never won in the world of UFC. He was born on November 22nd, 1970, commonly known as Joe Son, a South Korean mixed martial artist whose real name is Joseph Hyung-min Son, manager, actor and convicted felon. He is currently serving life sentence and he is incarcerated in Salinas Valley State Prison. He is convicted of torture. His height is 1 meter 63 centimeters. His weight is 107 kilograms, division heavyweight, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. He was active 1993 to 1997 as an actor, 1994-2002 wrestler. I already told his martial arts records 0-4. He made himself infamous for wearing a leopard tongue and sporting makeup during his fights. He was also a professional wrestler in Japan for a short time, wrestling Shinja Hayamoto at the Wrestle One event, working as singer and dancer for Hustle. He appeared at UFC 3 as the manager of Kimo Leopoldo, who was defeated of Royce Gracie, and he competed himself at UFC 4. Now, talking about his UFC, let's talk about his fights. He fought Kate Hackney, and you know, this fight was non-celebrative due to a huge amount of nut shots that Joe Son received. Joe Son was holding Hackney as a guillotine, and when they dropped down, nut shots were illegal at those time, and Hackney struck him few times to nuts, and so Son tapped out, and it was a TKO injury due to nut shots. And Joe Son is known to be the guy who has the biggest nuts in the world of UFC. It was on December 16, 1994. On February 22, 2002, he fought in Tokyo, Japan versus Yusuke Imamura. He lost due to a submission elbow injury, Pride the Best Volume. Versus Joe Moreira, Extreme Pancration 2, Los Angeles, California, United States. He was also defeated via submission due to terror. And versus UK Nakajima, TKO, shoulder injury. To remember Joe Son's shorts, what was he wearing? He was looking like a leopard. Actually, this was one of the funniest guys ever in the world of UFC. If we talk about his kickboxing record, on K3 Grand Prix 95 he lost Nobuaki Kakuda 1 minute 40 seconds, but Nobuaki Kakuda was knocked down once. He was once in a knockdown. This is the only knockdown that Joe Son ever made in the beginning of his short and very funny career. And now, as an acting career, his role in 1997 blockbuster movie Austin Powers International Man of Mystery is Random Task, a parody of the James Bond character or Job. Son has also appeared in several other movies, including Joshua Tree, the first 2 Shoot Fighter films, Blood Fist 5, Human Target, and the leading part as the main villain in the Lorenzo Lamas action film Viper, also known as Bad Blood from 1994. Now let's talk about his criminal convictions. Son pleaded guilty to felony vandalism on May 17, 2008, was sentenced to 60 days in prison, later was on probation. He was placed into custody on August 18 same year. He was also given an additional 90 days in prison for violating his probation for failing to report to the Department of Probation to keep them informed of his current address. As a condition of his plea agreement, Son was required to provide a DNA sample. In early October 2008, the DNA sample was linked to a Christmas Eve 1990 gang rape. Already in custody for a probation violation, Son was arrested at the TLC facility on October 7, 2008. He was charged by California authorities in relation to his participation in that rape. He was initially charged in Orange County, California, with 5 counts of rape, 2 felony counts of forcible sodomy, 2 felony counts of sodomy in concert by force, 7 felony counts of forcible oral copulation, and 1 felony count of sexual penetration by foreign object by force. He faced a maximum sentence of 2,075 years to life. Son and an accomplice tortured and repeatedly raped the victim before releasing her with her pants tied around her eyes. During the trial, the woman said Son told her, "It's Christmas. This is your lucky day." Actually, Joe Son was a guy who told the police, "You can find me on Wikipedia," and when they asked him how we can find you, he said, "I fought in the UFC." And they said, "So what did you do?" "I lost all the fights." And before jury selection began for his trial in early August 2011, the initial charges against Son were dropped, having expired due to the statute of limitations. Son was then charged with conspiracy to commit torture and murder, crimes which have no statute of limitations. In late August, Son was found guilty of 1 felony count of torture. During the trial, the Orange County District Attorney's Office maintained that both Son and his co-defendant, Santiago Lopez Gaitan, pistol-whipped their female victim, repeatedly threatened to kill her and rape her before finally releasing her. His co-defendant in the case, Santiago Gaitan, 40, pleaded guilty to rape, kidnapping and other charges and was sentenced to 17 years and 4 months in prison in January 2011. On September 19, 2011, Son was sentenced to life in prison. In October 2011, Son was accused of killing his cellmate Michael Thomas Graham, a convicted sex offender. The murder happened in October 10, 2011 on B Yard Reception Building 5 at Vasco State Prison. The beating occurred at 5:25 p.m. and Graham died at 5:50 p.m. on that day. After the murder occurred, Son was moved to solitary confinement. September 13, 2013, Son was officially charged with Graham's murder. His trial is set to begin in March 2016. And actually, if this guy was a sex offender, he'd probably try to rape Son or whatever. So, of this side, I can understand Son why he did it. I would probably do the same thing. Joseph Jungmin Son, CDCR AE7266, is currently housed in Salinas Valley State Prison. He is serving a life sentence in prison.
Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe us on YouTube. Send us your propositions to make sure to see your favorite fighter in this show. Thanks, and see you all in the next episode.